The children of al-Khair peeked over the fence, where just meters away, men in kippahs with machine guns slung over their shoulders danced and sang. I recognized many of the songs and prayers from my own childhood going to the synagogue. Hearing them in this context was disturbing in a way I cannot put into words. Oh, I saw this. This is, L'Espresso, absolutely cooked. It's a Italian magazine. It's an Italian leftist magazine. L'Espresso. People have been very, very upset about this cover. L'abuso is the title, which reads abuse. The subtitle is basically talking about the West Bank settlers and the heinous acts of violence that they commit against the occupied peoples of Palestine. A lot of pro-Israel people have gotten very mad, including this Rabbi Poopko guy. Italy's magazine, Espresso Online, publishing anti-Semitic Der Stürmer-worthy imagery, should clarify where they got this image from. The military vest worn here is no longer in use by the IDF. The wedding ring and bracelet are never worn by ultra-Orthodox men. The formation of the beard and kippah are outlandish, and of course, the very bizarre smile showing teeth are unnatural. There is perhaps never been a bigger own goal than a guy who wants to defend Israel turning around and saying, wow, look at this real image that was taken of a real West Bank ultra-Orthodox settler harassing someone. That is a anti-Semitic depiction. It's like, buddy, have you seen the West Bank? Do you think that this is the only instance? Do you think that this was a setup? Do you think that this wasn't a real photo? I can't say anything. I will not be saying anything. You know why I won't be saying anything, okay? But it does feel to me like this is yet another vindication for another controversial moment that people love posting about. That's a real guy, by the way. Okay, that's a real guy doing real heinous acts, and you're just fucking mad that that's a real guy doing a real thing, and it looks horrifying. It looks horrible. If your goal is to defend Israel, it looks pretty bad. That's precisely what's going on here. He's like upset that Big Homie is chopped. Big Homie is so chopped that he's claiming it's an anti-Semitic caricature. That's just how he looks, man. I'm not saying it. You are. I did find it very funny that like pro-Israel people were like, this guy is so chopped that this is not real. Like this guy is unbelievably chopped. This guy that I will defend endlessly, vociferously is so chopped, I can't even stand to acknowledge that he's a real guy. And it's very funny that they chose to claim this was fake when it's obviously a fucking real photo and it's obviously a depiction of real events that there are thousands of examples of. It's been very funny. This is worthy of deleting your entire Twitter page and erasing every pixel of your digital presence. Yeah, I'm not going to say anything about the far-right settler terrorists. Sometimes a picture is worth 1,000 words. Sometimes a picture is worth 1,000 words, okay? This is one of those times. If they just let this go and didn't make a big fuss about it, it would be one of 7,000 other depictions, 7,000 other real-time photographs of, ultra-Orthodox West Bank settlers doing terrorism to the Palestinians, right? There are so many photos like this because this happens on a daily basis. Now, there's a couple angles that I want to cover here, okay? First and foremost, I would really love to hear your take on this. I mean, this is just the ongoing realities of living in the West Bank, okay? Who cares, right? Whatever. The way he looks is irrelevant, except for the fact that people who wanted to defend Israel decided to say, this guy is so fucking ugly that this must be surreal. This must be like you must have like hired someone to take this photo. The problem is there's a million photos like this. I mean, here, look, there you go. Here's another one. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, if this makes you feel some type of way, why are you attacking the person taking the photo instead of recognizing that the actions in the photo that are being depicted are consequential, awful, irredeemable, and you should criticize the people engaging in such violent actions rather than talking about how it makes you feel differently about your... I mean, it doesn't even make you feel differently about your support, really. Like, you're just attacking the person who simply took the photo. It's so totally ridiculous. One of the things that I also want to mention, and this was Jasper Nathaniel's assessment. For those of you who don't know, Jasper Nathaniel, friend of the show, friend of mine, wonderful guy. He went to the West Bank and he actively covered the pogroms that were taking place. Jasper is Jewish himself from New York. His assessment on this is actually very interesting. You're kind of eviscerating your stated defense of your comment right now. Hopefully you don't get cooked for kind of destroying your entire line of defense for that one specific comment. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I don't give a shit whether he's hot or not, chatters. The point is, he's doing something repulsive. The events itself are ugly, okay? The events that are being depicted, like the actions that he's taking, that's what's ugly. The problem isn't that they are ugly or beautiful, but they are criminals who assault Palestinians to drive them out of their homes and steal their land on orders and under the protection of the Israeli government, and that no one does anything to stop their crimes. Exactly. That's the problem. The point that I'm making here is twofold. Number one, these guys are irredeemable, okay? They're doing something irredeemable, and it's so irredeemable that even people who want to defend the state of Israel want to act as though this is not real. Like, this is fake. This is made up. Even the people that are, ultra-Zionists, Zionists themselves, like, that want to defend the state of Israel, like, they recognize this is just a bad look, right? They recognize there's something heinous there. They can't defend it. There's something indefensible there, so they just have to close off their minds and assume that this is not a real person, that these events don't happen with regular frequency in the West Bank. They'd rather close their eyes to that reality. Italian here, I can get you a copy if you want. I would love a copy of this magazine. In any case, this is a real person, and he's not alone. There are thousands of people like this, right, in the West Bank that are behaving like the Ku Klux Klan, with old IDF gear in many instances, armed by American benefactors, by way of Itamar Ben-Gvir, who personally gives these guys their arms, who, sometimes wear old IDF gear or new IDF gear in their fatigues, presenting themselves as like a paramilitary force. But it is basically the Jewish Klan. It's the Jewish supremacist Klan, Ku Klux Klan. And that's how they operate, with impunity in the West Bank. One thing that I thought was very interesting was Jasper Nathaniel's assessment on this, okay? I want to cover that really quickly because he went there and he was in the belly of the beast. He stared at these psychopathic extremists. And one of the things, as a Jewish man, one of the things that he found rather interesting was this. What a lot of people are not understanding is that this man wants to be hated for being Jewish. Do you see the problem yet? This is something that often is overlooked because we only have the capacity to analyze what's going on in Israel, not from the perspective of Jewish supremacy, Jewish supremacist values, which this person perfectly personifies and demonstrates every single day that he is doing these kinds of heinous actions. We look at that from a Western lens where historically Jews have been marginalized, victims to pogroms, the Holocaust. This attitude is very different in Israel. No longer are we the Jews with trembling knees, is the mentality that a lot of people in Israel operate with. They want to be militant. They want to be hated. And they want to be hated for their Judaism. And that is precisely the reason why you see people bringing like a Torah to the Lebanese conquest in a tactical bag. That's why we saw the Star of David carved into the side of the faces of Palestinian prisoners. That's why we saw the Star of David carved onto what is now a bombed out crater that used to be an apartment complex in Gaza. These guys want you to know that they are doing Jewish terror, not you in the Western world, because they don't care about our perspective at all. Because in some ways, it's no different than ISIS. Like, ISIS doesn't care or have consideration for like Western approval, and neither do these guys. Those who are in support of Israel that live in the West, they care. There are, I'm certain, plenty of people, liberal Zionists, that live in Israel who also care, because this makes it infinitely harder to maintain maximum support from the Western world that Israel desperately needs to carry out its exterminationist operations. But these guys are at the tip of the spear. They don't give a fuck about being liked. As a matter of fact, they wear it on their sleeves. That's precisely the reason why they will draw the Star of David on the sides of Palestinian homes in Palestinian villages in occupied Palestinian territory in the West Bank before they blow up those houses, before they throw Molotov cocktails at those houses, before they kill the livestock, before they do heinous acts of violence, before they do pogroms to the indigenous Palestinian population. But it's very important, okay? Jasper Nathaniel follows and says they want it to be very clear that it's Jews doing this to them. The soundscape of al-Khair is otherwise ordinary for a farming community. Sheep, roosters, children at play. But here, there's also Hebrew chanting. For 3 days, I heard it constantly. The children of al-Khair peeked over the fence, where just meters away, men in kippahs with machine guns slung over their shoulders danced and sang. I recognized many of the songs and prayers from my own childhood going to the synagogue. Hearing them in this context was disturbing in a way I cannot put into words. What it must do to a child's understanding of Jews doesn't need spelling out. The people are proud, strong-willed, determined to remain, but they know exactly what they're up against. Reminded of it every minute in several directions. Giant stars of David jut from the ground or are mounted on rooftops, lit at night like flaming crosses. Okay? The view from neighboring Zuwaydin, where a settler brought a flock of sheep to graze on the village's land. You see that? It says, it's so fucking obvious to anyone with a brain that the state of Israel and the Jewish institutions that refuse to break with it are the biggest drivers of anti-Semitism today, so tired of anyone pretending otherwise. There's an attitude on that side of the world where this is almost a holy crusade. Antithetical to how Judaism has operated throughout history for much longer than Israel has existed, obviously, thousands of years longer than Israel has existed. Israel's only been around for 80. Zionism has been around for, 100, as opposed to Judaism that's been around for thousands of years. A rich tradition, rich and storied tradition. And yet, almost overnight, in the last 100 years or so, and especially since the inception of the nation state of Israel in the last 80, this fascistic ideology has desperately tried to overtake Judaism in its entirety.